best regards from Ingolstadt. I have heard that you entered the Kamel GT Championship this year in the good old GTO car, so I wish you best of luck and a lot of success.
Best greetings to all drivers from the Audi GTO 90 Championship. Good success.
Normally, this series sees Finns at the top of the GTO class points, but this season has had the trend reversed. This time, a pair of Finns try to sort out who is the fastest in the GTP cars between the likes of Iamaki and Lapisto. Today's race will be a test of their nerves considering the narrow and fast nature of Oulton Park. Can anything shake them? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 7 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director Sean Crackers Ambrose and is using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We can't overstate the difficulty that this track presents the drivers when putting multiple classes out here. To really illustrate it, let's head down to our track guide and see what the driver sees.
All right, we've got Philip Lake in the GSRC Nissan, so let's do a lap around Oulton Park. Up towards Old Hall Corner, you always have to be careful not to turn in too early. There's a deceptively late apex, and the exit narrows up quickly. After that, the little crest at Denton's means you're kind of lining up the entry into Cascades blind, but you definitely want to get the car off to the right-hand side for the widest line possible into this left-hander. The exit of this corner will be important too, because the Lakeside Run is one of the few long straights you get on this course. But it won't be flat out through Island Bend, even with the incredible downforce of the GTP. Make sure and hold to the left, because right away you're braking for Shell Oil's corner. This is one of the few good opportunities to overtake, but it's still usually very hairy. You're now onto the longest flat-out section of the track. Up and over a hilltop, the car is going to gain incredible speed, and you'll feel just how bumpy this circuit is. But without the chicanes in this version, you'll find yourself actually needing to get on the brakes for Knickerbrook. There's very little room for error through here, and expect some drivers to end their day early in this corner. Then you're back on the power again all the way through Clay Hill and Water Tower. And Water Tower makes the entry to Druids very tough with it not being a straight shot. Plus, this is a pretty rapid double apexer with a tricky rise right when you want to get your right foot down. From there, you've got your last really good place to pass, braking for Lodge. But the tough thing about this hairpin is that the track drops away from you on the exit and deceives eager drivers into overshooting it. From there, you've now hopefully finished a lap around Oulton Park.
The onboard definitely gives you a sense of the speed they're able to take around here. And Adam, it's always exciting around this track to call races, but I'll be honest, when I'm in the car, I hate driving here.
I'll put it like this. In the practice session a little while ago, a certain driver, won't name names, mentioned that he would rather race at Circuit of the Americas in 50 degrees centigrade track temperatures than race here in this car, just because it is so tough. It is a very challenging circuit. It's narrow, it's lots of elevation change, and there's a big speed difference because of the high speed corners between those Audis and these Nissans. Of course, we're running the international layout without the chicanes here today. We're running 12 turns, 2.6 miles, 4.3 kilometers, and we're going to go 40 minutes around Oulton Park here today.
Yeah, it is a lot to deal with for sure. Now, let's take a look at the championships, starting with those prototypes. As I mentioned, we've got two Finns up at the top, Iamaki and Lapisto, who have been trading back and forth. And currently, Iamaki has an entire win ahead of Lapisto currently. Then you've got Ukanos back down there in third, a little bit on his lonesome. Before you get to Jungbluth and Fabian Gerber down in fifth. Now, he hasn't been to every race. He's missed a few and hasn't had his typical season. That's why he's not leading currently, where he usually is challenging for the championships. But there's your top 5, and that's our situation about halfway through the season now. What about the GTO class, Adam?
Yeah, those GTO standings here right now, those are pretty tight out there as far as the Audis. And get those pulled up, 13 points behind Dennis Neidhart's behind Philip Lake. Joni Hagner is 16 points. Jamie Hall is 29 points back, and Michael Houghton 34 points. So just a little bit tighter up in the top 5 than what the Nissans are. But Dennis Neidhart and Joni Hagner, they're the ones that are within reach of Philip Lake here today if something were to happen to them.
Yep, Lake's finally leading the championship with a decent season. Now, let's take a look at the Milk Zoo Championship. This is a special one that we have in the GTO class. This is strictly for the Italian drivers in the GTO cars, the Audis. Franco Scurri has been leading the way both last season and this season in this special championship that they're running. In fact, you can see he's got a huge chunk over Joe Dorsha there in second place. And we've got Susanna De Pasqua and Colin rounding out our top 5. Now, they still score points according to where they finish overall, so there is incentive for them to try and make their way up the order, even though that is only amongst the Italian drivers. Now, what about the race details here, Adam? What do they have in store for themselves?
Well, I mentioned the fact that it'll be a 40-minute race here today. It is open setup. There is no free repair. 17 incident limit, then you get a penalty. 25 will be DQ. And then, actually, it's pretty easy to get an off track here, so we'll be watching out for that. And, of course, past halfway down. It's round 7 of 12 on the season. And always remember that in these Kamel GT races, these are official iRacing races, so things like iRating and safety rating and all that count. And don't think that's not in the back of mind of some of these drivers.
Certainly not. Right now, we're in the midst of qualifying, and Ardo Iamaki has a provisional pole. Gerber's back, and he is less than a tenth off of Iamaki, but they're both on their way around for their second lap. Now, Phil Lake actually has the measure of Joni Hagner, which is interesting, and there's only 2 100ths between them currently. So at the moment, things very, very tight between both classes, as Gerber actually just went to the pole in the prototypes. And Iamaki looks like he still has about half a lap to go.
Yeah, that's one thing, too, that I've been noticing. I was watching him practice earlier on, is just actually how quick Fabian Gerber is on this thing. Of course, we've got Joni Hagner on the screen. We'll see what he's able to do. He should be completing his lap here in just a few seconds. And with that time difference there between him and Phil Lake, Phil Lake could be in danger here. This feels, just eyeballing it, it feels like a quick lap here for Hagner.
And Traeger just went to the pole as well. Looks like Hagner goes quicker, but it only puts him up into second, and Lake does not. Traeger's done with his qualifying, and he snatched it from both of them once again by barely 2 100ths of a second. So that means our top 3 are less than a tenth apart. We're now watching Lepisto second in the championship points. He's coming around for his second lap. He sits 4th on the track. Ingstrom is quicker than him, as well as Iamaki and Gerber. He's got time left to try and do this, but he's got, let's see, looks like about half a second to make up to Fabian.
I'm skeptical if he's gonna be able to grab a half second, but at the same time, I mean, if there's a guy that can do it, it's Lepisto. He can turn on the afterburner when he wants to. Yep. I guess
and
not.
That's the end of that qualifying lap. I almost thought he was going to at least catch it, but regardless, it would have been a slower lap. And let's see, who else do we have? John Keefe seems to still be out there, trying to see if he's still on that second lap. Yeah, he's already finished his 2 laps. Krejcik has as well. Iamaki is not out on track anymore. Looks like he's just finished out. So let's head over to Hideki Koivisto. Boy, everybody's already done. The laps comes so quick here. Michael Haynes is yet to take his second one, and he's able to complete this. He's currently down in 32nd in the GTOs. See Johnny Bell getting ready to set a lap as well. And I think those are the only two that we have able to finish qualifying. Nope, I take that back. Looks like Jamie Hall also able to get out there for a second one.
One thing when we get going here that you'll notice is just the speed difference between the Audis and the Nissans. In qualifying, at least right now, Traegerade, he's about 12 seconds slower than what Fabian Gerber is pole on the Nissan. And on this narrow track and that kind of closing rate, it could be some very interesting dynamics whenever we start to see a lap traffic, or, well, you know, in multi-class traffic. And looking at Covisto sliding there, that'll be the end of his lap.
Yeah, Covisto, unfortunately, also having trouble in Drew. It's a very quick double apexer. This is Jamie Hall, who will be able to complete it. He's got about 30 seconds left as he comes around Lodge. That's plenty of time to get to the line. He's in third. He's inserted himself amongst that fight. They're up at the top, but he does not improve on that second lap, unfortunately. Looking to see what Johnny Bell can put in. If he's on a timed lap, he'll be able to at least get one down. And he was. It's a 1:27.3. That puts him in to 16th in class. But that's the last driver that can put a time in. Let's go through our starting order because it's a decent-sized field for such a small track. Fabian Gerber on the pole with Ardo Iamaki starting second next to him. Kitty Ingstrom will be starting P3, and Iamaki's rival in the championship, Lepisto, back and forth. He's going to be directly behind him. Nick Bukanos will be P5 with Dustin Heroder in 6th position. Laust Olsen starts in 7th. Then you've got Martin Krejcik in P8. Pablo Suarez starts 9th, and Heitor Sintes Guindo in 10th place. We saw John Keefe after he had finished his qualifying. His best lap was good enough for 11th. Miles Tiller, P12 for him, and Stefan Schlacker, unusually far down for him, 13th there in the prototypes. Daniel Stisman will be starting in 14th. Roberto De Filippis in P15, and Guilherme Kramer in P16.
Ove Traegerade, he's going to bring him pole in the Audi, starting alongside him and Joni Hagner. Jamie Hall and Philip Lake will make up row 10 and 19th and 20th overall. Behind them, going back to 21st position, we'll find Dennis Neidhart and then Nico Arvalami. Then Reed Miller and Miguel Castro will be making up row 12. Row 13 is going to go to Esco Litanini, and then Jacob Rattay, Franco Scurry, and Hideki Covisto. We saw Hideki spin there at the tail end of qualifying. Romingo de Pesca will be in row 15 alongside Juan Ignacio Horchacha. Alexandro Massaro will start behind them along with Johnny Bell, then Michael Haynes, Rob Olenek. And we got one lone Nissan out there starting toward the back. That'll be Samuel Harrison, Giola Forcolin, Gareth Rabashaw, and Brian O'Toole did not set qualifying times.
So the grid starts to peel away behind the Porsche pace car. Rolling start here. And then we will go running for a full 40 minutes here in round 7, starting off the second half of the season. Is this Gerber getting things back in order? He still has time to try and get himself up to the top of the points. Iamaki is going to try and keep him from doing that. Everybody packing up tightly here as they come back under the bridge, the Warwick Bridge. They'll be released once they come over Deer Leap when that pace car works its way in. A lot of elevation change, so the high spool turbo of this Nissan needs to be treated with care as you get on the throttle. Green flag is out, and immediately Gerber is on it, able to get up in front of Iamaki, but Iamaki looking better in the second phase of things as they come down into Old Hall, and he's able to stay ahead, but it is tight up at the front. So far, so good in the Nissans. Let's go to the GTOs.
Yeah, the Audis, Joni Hagner got a good start, but already looking at Ove Traegerade getting a little loose there. He's going to back up Jamie Hall just a touch and Philip Blake. Everybody's still able to get out of it scot-free, though, as they start to get single file.
A lot more single file than the GTPs were, as they were very doubled up. Already seeing one car off in the prototypes. I think that's Sintes Guindo. It is indeed. He manages to stay out of the wall and gets back on track. We're still being led by Fabian Gerber. Ooh, a little bit of a look there coming up to Knickerbrook from Ardo Iamaki. That's a hard place to pass, so I'm not sure that was serious.
Yeah, that's pretty much right now what you're seeing in the Nissans is what you're seeing in the Audis too. They're still single file pretty much all the way back with just maybe a few people trying to make some moves in the back. One of those is Rob Olenek. Uncharacteristically did not set a qualifying time, and he's out there trying to make up positions now as Nacero goes off track. That was pretty much really the only bit of action in the Audis here so far, as they're just trying to, it looks like, get going here before anybody really starts making any crazy moves.
Yeah, I'd say that Olenek is already picking him off. He's up to 15th, and he's looking for more as we take a glance here at the Nissans now. Still Gerber leading Iamaki. Engstrom stays in third. Ooh, looks like we had a change for position between Laust Olsen and Nick Mukanos. Nick moves himself up into P6.
Mukanos lost P5 to Dustin Herauder, and then immediately fell under attack. Oh, actually, they had contact, and he went off, and that's how he got under attack by Olsen.
Interesting. So already a lot of action for the number 11, unfortunately. Let's head over to those GTO drivers because the lead getting very, very tight between Trangrade and Hagner. Hagner having taken it away since the start from Ove. Probably not the way he wanted to kick this thing off. Then we've got, of course, Jamie Hall back there in third ahead of Phil Lake. The Dirty Torque teammates, as always, very close together.
Oh, I just saw Ove Trangrade with a big slide. He ultimately didn't even really lose any time. He's right there, but I think he figured out how to dirt track there for a minute. And he's hunting Joni Hagner. He knows his place is tough to pass, so if he has an opportunity, he's going to have to pounce on it.
Now, we saw a puff of smoke on screen in front of him. That was Sintez Guindo, who had another problem. I'm not sure what, but he's almost being caught by our leaders in the GTO. Looks like Daniel Zitman as well is suddenly back with him. So we've got two GTPs in front of the GTOs. They better pick up the pace because that's going to be messy if they have to be overtaken by the slower class.
Yeah, and they're both damaged now, and this is one place, too, that you do not want to have any front aero damage on those Nissans because being so aero-dependent on these high-speed corners, you'll be having a handful for the entire race.
And there's another almost spin from Sintez Guindo. He catches it. And the same thing from Daniel just ahead of him. As he goes off course, he's trying to bring it back on just as he's starting to be caught by Hagner.
Yeah, this could get interesting here if the GTOs do, in fact, end up catching the Nissan of Daniel Sitzman, because it's not supposed to happen like that here, and that could be a problem. Hey, by the way, going back to the GTOs, Dennis Neidhart, he is really having a fight here with Philip Lake. They were side by side for a moment. Oh, and Jamie Hall sliding through.
Using that four-wheel drive to good effect to hold onto the car through Druids. Puts him under attack from Phil Lake, but Lake can't quite make the dive down into Lodge. Still, you can see how closely his teammate is following. This is losing them touch up to the top two. Trangrade and Hagner start to pull away a little bit now. As they come out of Old Hall. Don't forget, those two Dirty Torque drivers also have Neidhart back there. Arvelomi is getting close. Reed Miller. It's essentially a 5-car train going from third place back to 7th. As they come through Island Bend and now brake on their way into Shell Oil. Potential place to sometimes try and pass. Nobody making any moves this time, though. Not missing anything up at the top with the GTPs. They're all still staying put, although as I glance over, I do believe that Gerber's starting to catch the back of the GTOs now. And hop on board with the number 5. Ooh, and he's coming up to a very slow Joe Dorsha. Juan Ignacio was off track or something there as he was getting it going, but it looks like he's going to... Oh! As he almost peels in front of Iamaki and just in time gives him space at the apex. Yamaki still staying close to Gerber in spite of that scare. We're 5 minutes into this race and things getting pretty thrilling throughout the field. Yamaki falls back a little bit, not able to withstand the wake of Gerber ahead. Now they come up on Ryan O'Toole. Down and through Lodge. O'Toole's going to pull off the racing line, let them through. And in that clear air, it certainly seems like Fabian Gerber much quicker than what Ardo Iamaki has underneath him, as he has pulled a decent gap of about 1.5 seconds when they've got nobody in their way. Oh, now they're getting into the thick of these GTOs, which has a battle for fourth still happening. Neidhart trying to overtake Phil Lake. He's getting awful close as they come up to Knickerbrook. Again, incredibly fast right-hander, not always a good place to pass. He's going to stay in line this time. Then up over Clay Hill, through Water Tower. That leads directly here into Druids. We've seen multiple drivers already be caught out by that corner. All of them clean this time, though. Worth noting, I just saw that Lepisto, when we weren't looking, has managed to get into third. So he's trying to chase down Iamaki. Let's stay with this, though, because this is much closer. Being led currently by Trangrade. So this group is caught back up. Trangrade sliding himself a little bit through Old Hall. Hagner starting to pull a bit of a gap over Ove. It's about 1 second between them. Jamie Hall fending off Phil Lake. Neidhart keeping an eye. Something seems to have happened to Kitty Ingstrom, but it looks like he has headed into pit lane. He had a little contact with the GTO a while ago. Don't really have time for the replay, unfortunately. But he's had to come in and take repairs. Once again, up into Knickerbrook. Everybody just going to stay in line here at the top of this GTO field. Really, it still goes back to Reed Miller in that 7th place before you have a big gap. That's Franco Scurry behind him in P8. Now, though, they're going to have some fun because here comes Fabian Gerber behind them. They've been battling peacefully on their own all this time up to lap 6. And suddenly it's all going to be rudely interrupted by a GTP. Here we are on board with our leader in the prototypes. Now, it'll be a little bit easier here when he gets up to Reed, because Reed's not really directly battling with anybody. He's got a little bit of a gap, but then it's going to be closer and closer together. And with it being higher up, and I have to eat my own words, because Reed Miller, unfortunately, picks the same line as Fabian Gerber. Fabian, with his gap that he's pulled to Ardo Iamaki, allows him to at least hold on to the lead and not be under attack. A little bit easier getting by Arvelomi. Here's where it's suddenly one after another. The fight for what is essentially 2nd place amongst 4 Audis at once. He's going to wait behind on Neidhart. Manages to accelerate past, coming over Hilltop. He's much faster here in this portion. Is he going to try and dive it in? Nope, he's going to wait patiently. And just manages to squeak through in Clay Hill. Is he going to try and get in there? At least one of them? Wow, that was late at him.
That was a heart attack moment there.
Everybody gets out the other side. And finally, he gets the leader of this class. Hagner up at the front in that Glacier Audi. He's going to have an easy pass across the front stretch and down into Old Hall. So that was one Nissan. Now they got to deal with all the others coming through behind him.
One was an adventure enough. I mean, there was definitely a few points where I think Fabian Gerber's race flashed before his eyes. Also noticing too that he has a little bit of damage up on his right front that I'm not exactly sure where he got it. Maybe he hit a curb wrong or something else, but probably not going to affect him as long as he doesn't get any more.
And I think Phil Lake must have had a missed shift because he easily let Neidhart by. They look awful slow. This is in the midst of all the traffic coming through. It'd be easy to be distracted enough to miss a shift in this Audi.
Joe, I think you hit the nail on the head, because that was just listening to his engine note there. I think that's exactly what happened. And Dustin Gerarder, though, man, he had to get through there going 3 wide when that happened too. So lucky we didn't have an incident there.
Yeah, still looking good. Stimon in the number 31. Daniel has headed into the pits and since been back out. Miguel Castro in the GTOs is in pit lane for reasons that we don't know yet. Looks like he might be getting repairs, so must have had some issues as we continue to watch this fight for second place here. And the GTOs being led by Trangerade. And then behind him, Jamie Hall. And then that very multicolored car that you see, that is Dennis Neidhart with the mainly teal on his machine.
Just watching this horde of Nissans here fighting to try to get through the GTOs. It's just tight. We knew it'd be like this too. I mean, this is just the narrow part of this track. Oh, Neidhart almost making contact there with Krejcik, and then he tries to react to that and then almost makes contact with Suarez.
And still they're all running. Suarez trying to pick his way through. He's looking on the inside of Jamie Hall. He's going to be able to outbrake him easily. My goodness, I don't know how they handle this. I'd be having a heart attack. Stefan Schlacker also coming through. Remember, he was disappointed with his
Joni
qualifying.
Hagner didn't see Krejcik, and Krejcik ends up having to really dive it in there. He slides off.
Hagner holds onto the lead. That was Laust Olsen also off to the side of the track. Not sure if that was a completely separate incident or if that was related. It's getting really thick in here now, and Ove Trangerade is spying an opportunity. He gets close, but he can't make a go at it. Behind him, that's Stefan Schlacker. He's going to split them for the moment. Oh, and he's going to lose it. Schlacker tries to hold on, but it gets away, and he's into the wall. He wanted to try and pick the right side, literally the right side, past Hagner, and he clipped the curb, it looks like.
Backing up, he caught a car. I didn't see who it was.
Yeah, he tried to get going, and he spun across the track a second time. Hence why he had to back up, because usually you would think he had plenty of space there.
So he's bent up on the front and back, and that was the Audi of Franco Scurry.
Not good for Scurry's hopes in that Milk Zoo Championship. Right now he's in 8th, and we had a change for position just in front of him just now. Reed Miller and Arvalomi. This was coming out of Knickerbrook. Let's take a look at the replay. I think Miller just overshot the corner. Watch this. Yeah, he really had to collect it. That slowed him up. And then Arvalomi was not going to sit around and wait for a second opportunity. He just pounced on it.
That's kind of why we're seeing some of what we're seeing, Joe, is that, like we were talking about earlier, if you have those opportunities today on this track, you're going to have to pounce on whatever you get. It's looking at for Colin. He seems to be off. Single car incident, don't need to go to it there.
Yeah, he's already into the pits. Let's head over to P3, though. Ardo Iamaki and Dustin Heroder very closely fighting. In fact, Heroder's going to look to the inside as they come into Lodge. He's got the inside, but now he's going to be blocked off a little bit as they try to go 3 wide, and it's Iamaki who loses in that game of chicken. He lifted and let him through just to avoid disaster. Woo! Tense moments out on track. Heroder now onto the podium. Can he stretch away as we ride on board with Ardo? Again, he's got to catch back up to Lepisto. Ardo's leading the championship. He does not want to let Antti make inroads on that points gap.
Looking accident. And Mucanis right now really having to fight to get around Juan Ignacio Rachacha. Finally does. Man, he got stuck behind him for a while.
It is just non-stop with the traffic at this point for the drivers. There's nowhere to hide out here, even though we've lost a couple already. Let's head back to the battle for third in GTO. Hall, Lake, and Neidhart. And actually, I'd say you could include Ove in this still. He's not that far up the road. They've lost touch with Hagner slightly, but the traffic could bring that back in because it's only about a second between them. Ooh, defensive move as Phil Lake has to go on the inside from Dennis Neidhart. I didn't think that was going to work around the outside of Knickerbrook, but he gave it a go anyways.
And we do have our first Nissan GTP casualty, surprisingly. First one out, at least in the pits here for a long time, is Daniel Sitzman. I think he might be calling it a day.
Yep, he's been taking repairs for quite a while at this point. As we continue to ride on the roof of Neidhart, chasing Phil Lake. Of course, Phil Lake would rather be ahead of Jamie Hall in this. And in this season, Phil Lake has yet to win a race, interestingly. He's been incredibly consistent, multiple podiums all year long, but despite having the most points of anyone, he's not stood on the top step yet this year.
But, you know, consistency wins championships, and that's what his goal is here this season. He's been wanting to have a good season for a while, and finally having one here this year. I mean, yeah, race wins are great. We all want race wins, but I'll take the championship if he can pull it out and continue to run with podium spots. I mean, even a fourth today in class wouldn't be too bad for him, especially in a place like this.
Oh, and up against guys like Joni Hagner. Surprising that he is down in third in the points right now. You can see the speed that he has. Usually, actually, he's a lot more dominant than this, able to stretch away from these cars. As we've got Stefan Schlacker still dealing with a battle on his hands. He's trying to hold off Kitty Engstrom. Actually, no, that's a lapped car. Trying to lap that same class GTP. This, oh, wait, no, I guess that is a battle for position. When did Engstrom fall to 13th? He was up at the front earlier this race. He came in for a pit stop. Oh, that's right. He had problems early on. We did report on that a little bit earlier. Engstrom clearly hasn't lost too much speed. Well, at least he didn't seem to, because he was right on top of Schlacker, and then now they've dropped away from one another.
Oh, actually putting some wheels off again, letting that turbo get the best of him there.
Keeping half an eye on that battle for the GTOs. Now we've got them even on screen because you can see that Hall was under threat from Lake, and something seems to have happened to Mucanos because I see he's in pit lane. We'll try and find out what that was about here in a moment.
Oh, yeah,
right now
he's in pit lane, tore up. Oh, we got into it with the GTO. Hideki Koivisto, we actually got into it with.
Yeah, let's take a look at that replay. And you know what? This is very similar to the incident we saw with Schlacker. You can see how hard that hit was. Here's a second look at it. Unfortunately, instead of being a single car incident like Schlacker going to that right side and hitting that curb at Denton's, they come together and both of them losing control at such high speed, they just had no choice but to find themselves hitting the barrier.
Yeah, and then of course, you know, following up with that secondary hit there from Koivisto, pretty much done in Mucanis. That was two hard hits.
All right, leaders trying to work his way through this battle for second as he almost gets chopped off down into Shell Oil. Finally gets back on the throttle. Phil Lake, though, doesn't want to give up too much time, and there's contact behind him between Lepisto and Neidhart. Side to side, they bang doors and both get away with it. Lepisto's got the bit between his teeth. He wants to beat Fabian Gerber here. He wants max points. Ooh, and Gerber's going to get held up by Hagner through Druids. Are we going to go 3 wide? Lepisto just doesn't have the room on the racetrack. It is way too thin around here. That certainly holds up Joni Hagner quite a bit. So all that gap he had built up over Ove Trangrade falls down to about 7/10 of a second.
You can see just as soon as Fabian Gerber, now of course on the GTO battle, but there Fabian Gerber, as soon as he cleared those outies, he was able to set sail a little bit on anti-Lepisto. They were running nose to tail there for that moment, and then as soon as he cleared, Fabian Gerber's back on it.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot more pace than Lepisto, it seems. It's all coming down to the traffic here, especially in this battle for second, because they still got more of it. Dustin Heroder in third, and the GTPs is looking to try and find a way by.
Yeah, and it's like he's completely losing touch with those front two for having to fight through these Audis. Is up and under, and try to get around Jamie Hall here.
So he's going to leave them be. The Dirty Torque drivers can sort it out without him in the way now, and he eventually gets by Ove Trangrade as well.
Joni Hagger is going to end up slowing him up here a little bit. Joni Hagger can't afford to just let him by, though, because if he does, Trangrade will be right there.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that it seems like if these prototypes catch the GTOs in Druid's corner, that double right-hander, it's just, I mean, it looks like probably, what, about a second, 2 seconds just in that corner alone that they lose?
Yeah, which is incredible considering how much, like, a GTP running solo has to slow down there through Druids. I mean, it's actually kind of interesting because that you lose that much time, because on the exit of Druids, that turbo is really sensitive, and if you punch it just a little too hard out of there, it whips right around on you, and you're not going to hit soft there either.
This is our best battle on the track right now. Trangrade's starting to use this traffic well to his advantage because he's keeping Jamie Hall at arm's length. Ardo Imaki now the one trying to come through up and over Hilltop. Oh, and Lepisto got Gerber. Gerber was off track. What happened here? It was lap traffic. It was with Joe Dorsha. I'm going to get that name right eventually.
It was... He's off track and pretty decent front end damage there, too.
It looks like Juan actually started to lose the car, and that's what caused the contact.
Oh yeah, he put his left sides off the corner before and was already just sliding at that point, trying to make the corner, and that's when Gerber stuck his nose in there.
Just poor timing on the part of the 5, and that's not insignificant damage on that car, I'll be honest. You look at that left side, it doesn't look good. He's got 5 seconds to make up on Lepisto. If he's still got the pace in the car, he could run him down. We saw when it was clean, he was much quicker than the Finn. The question is it still in there? Ooh, and well, it looked like Lake and Neidhart were side by side briefly as there's more contact between Lake and Suarez now. Drivers are getting incredibly impatient.
I think if they ever put Oulton Park back on the schedule again, they should petition iRacing to put, like, modified style Nerf bars on the sides of these things and just boys have at it. I think that'd be entertaining. This is nuts.
Still staying with them. Phil Lake and Neidhart trying to sort out 4th position in the GTO class. We're only 14 minutes left. I haven't looked at the clock since we started this race, just because it's been so nonstop out on track. Can't imagine what it's like in the cockpit. I don't think any of these drivers have taken a breath since that green dropped. Oh, look into the inside this time as Dennis is getting very eager. Now he is all over the back of Phil Lake. But as they come up into Cascades, he's not quite close enough for an attempt. Incredible pressure on the number 6.
Just
They come
looking
up through Island Bend.
Just looking through the field, Joe, I think I could count the cars that don't have any damage whatsoever on one hand.
Now, we've already lost about half a dozen here. We're down to 32 still running. Oh, and this blocks things up for Laust Olsen because Neidhart does have a run as they come down to Knickerbrook, but this time he's got the inside. He's going to outbrake Phil Lake, and he's going to get through. Lake goes for the over-under, though. Looks to out-accelerate him, and that's going to give him the inside coming up to Druids. How long is Laust Olsen willing to try and let this two-eyed battle go on and hold him up? Lake can't make it stick, though. Coming up behind Laust Olsen, Krejcik is in a hurry as well. Laust finally gets by with an opening that presents itself. But he's got one more car to go. A little bit of contact once more. Krejcik and Lake.
I was getting ready to say, Olsen can't wait much longer because Krejcik was just flying up behind him while he was trying to be patient and let those Audis fight it out. But then he couldn't anymore, and now he's going to have to fight his way through, and now he's going to have a battle with Krejcik here. But I mean, Krejcik came back, I honestly think, from probably a good 6-7 seconds back while he was waiting.
I am amazed that they continue to put this track on the schedule. If I'm honest, it doesn't seem made for these cars. As Ove Trangrade now is the one that's held up. Oh, and actually an attempt on the outside. Jamie Hall almost able to make a pass, gets side by side. Oh, and a missed shift. That sends him into the wall. Ove Trangrade goes around and he takes out Neidhart in the process. Phil Lake gains a position. The Dirty Torque drivers find themselves with a stroke of luck. And now Joni Hagner has lost the lead. What has happened? We're on the replay. As we watch this, we'll have to go to Joni Hagner to see what happened. Oh, no, excuse me. Joni Hagner has not lost the lead. There's Ove Trangrade taking a tow. That's why timing and scoring showed that. Wow. That
I have no words.
To quote a very popular movie, that escalated quickly. Hagner now your leader. Jamie Hall's in second. Phil Lake's in third. Dennis Neidhart is actually still going despite the contact he had, but he's in fourth now, and he's got quite a ways to try and make up on the podium. This promotes Arva Lomi into the top 5 as well.
Yeah, that's Neidhart thankfully just got a glancing blow out of that, so he's able to continue on. Probably not any suspension damage, just a little bit of aero damage. By the way, just to recap that what we were watching there at the front of the GTPs a few minutes ago, Lepisto is actually pulling away on Fabian Gerber slowly but surely. I mean, that gap is now up to 6.3 seconds.
Does not bode well for Fabian. I honestly am not ready to count any chickens yet here.
No, you can't. Not with the way the traffic is here.
This is Engstrom, who did manage to get by Schlocker when we weren't looking. There was a lot of action up front, so we really couldn't pay attention. That's moved him into the top 10, and now he's working on John Keefe. Keefe has just kind of been coolly running his own race here. Haven't really shown him a whole lot on screen, but now he's getting some action. And before he knows it, Engstrom, with his pace that we saw in qualifying, makes it look like he's not going to have too tough of a time trying to find his way by the 22. Oh, man, that run through Denton's into Cascade always makes me nervous watching these cars. On board with Engstrom. I mean, you see the speeds there on screen. 155 miles an hour, and that's not even the fastest part of the track. Getting held up now by Jamie Hall, our second in GTO. Keefe looking for the way by and blocked up. Engstrom had a run. couldn't do anything with it. Something happened to Arvelomi. Ooh, Arvelomi's off track, and Reed Miller is by. Oh, you know what? Arvelomi got put offline by Lepisto, and did he miss a shift? He must have.
Yeah, with the slow as he was going, he definitely had to have. Yeah, it just kind of stalled out on him when he went to go get back on the gas. So I'm guessing he was still probably topping out at first gear.
Wonder if sometimes you could get stuck in neutral too. Wonder if that's why it just wouldn't go on him. I said at the start, you can't overstate how tough this track is, and it certainly has delivered today. Just a quick recap, if you're just joining us, Ante Lepisto is leading up in the GTPs. That is ahead of Fabian Gerber, but Gerber was in front for much of the race before he had an accident lapping GTO traffic. Yoni Hagner is up at the front of the GTOs, and he has pulled a gap of about 4 seconds over Jamie Hall, mostly by just avoiding all the drama that everybody else has had.
Jamie Hall had an off there. That I was trying to see who that was right in front of Lepisto. There was one of the dirty torque cars was off right there, and yeah, that was Jamie Hall.
And that's allowed Phil Lake to catch him. The battle is on between the teammates for second place.
Yeah, I think Phil Lake caught it, gave his teammate a little bit of slack there when he was coming back on track. And I mean, I would have too. I mean, it's your teammate after all, but now they get a chance to settle it out like gentlemen here.
Only 7 minutes left on the clock as well. They've got Fabian Gerber coming up behind our second place GTP driver. He's trying to make up time, so he probably won't want to sit around too long. He still has 6 seconds to go to get up to Lepisto. He gets one, and he gets two. And another one that's a lap down from there, that's Robichaud. Robishaw's going to stay out of the way. You can't really go 3 wide, and they almost did. Stefan Schlocker, who's still down in 11th, is trying to pick his way through things.
Yeah, Stefan's good in lap traffic. Like he knows what's going on here. Fellow GSRC commentator. He's gonna be patient with these guys and not mess them up.
Yeah, he does find his way through. We talked about Krejcik and Oulton. Apparently, Martin did get by, so he's up to 6th place now. Not sure
that's
when
a lot
that
of Sentes Galindo to get in here with these guys too.
Oh wow! Who would have thought at the start of this race that Sentes Galindo would be up to 8th position already? That's a nice recovery as we ride on board with him. He's challenging.
Yeah, no offense to him.
Oh, sorry. Fabian Gerber is off track.
Oh, man.
Our multi-time champion, and it's with the same car. It's Juan Ignacio. Once again, having issues under braking. We've got the replay. Don't think those two are going to be too good of friends after this.
Not exchanging Christmas cards, as you'd say in the NASCAR world, but I don't see a reason behind that one.
I think he just outbraked himself, and it tipped him off. Gerber falls to 3rd. Heroder gets 2nd place from that. So Gerber, it wasn't too hard of a hit. He's able to keep going. That's twice now with GTO traffic that Fabian Gerber has seen what looked like a relatively easy win in terms of Oulton Park slip through his fingers. Also, Kitty Engstrom did manage to get by John Keefe, it seems. So that moves Engstrom up into 9th.
Hey, looking at Philip Lake and Jamie Hall again. They still running nose to tail. I thought Philip Lake might try to pounce a minute or two ago. Ended up deciding better of it. And they're going to have Fabian Gerber having to charge back through these guys here in just a moment, too.
Yeah, he did it once before, but now he's got to do it again. You can see how close that Phil Lake is getting to the rear of Jamie Hall. Gerber is going to try and wait by the time they get into Old Hall Corner. But now also, Gerber's got to go by Joe Dorsha again. I imagine he's giving him a very, very wide berth this time.
Fabian Gerber is a pretty level-headed guy. I don't know if I would have been that level-headed when I got past him again there. That was relatively...
and we got some problems. And he actually was trying to let our battle between Hall and Lake through, and that caused them to check up. There's a little bit of contact there, but they all get through. No change for position. Yamaki thankfully comes to that melee after it happens and is able to get by. Can't imagine if he was trying to pass those lapped cars as that was going down. Also, for some reason, we lost Reed Miller. I saw him come into the pits, and he's already retired. Let me check and see if we can figure out what happened to Reed.
His car was relatively clean when he came in, too.
And I'm checking to see. I'm not seeing him hit anything within recent laps, so
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure why he pitted and retired. And all this mess for Fabian Gerber, not only has he lost touch with the top two, Ardo Iamaki has now run him down, by the way. It's about a second between those two. So we continue to watch this battle where it's a little bit closer between the Dirty Torque drivers, so let's stick with this. They're coming up on lap traffic within their own class, Haynes and Nocera. And I was going to say, Alexandro is going to have to give him a little bit more space there as he almost squeezed them in. And don't look now. Look at the back of the screen. That teal car, Neidhart, found his way back up to fourth and is gaining.
How about that? I mean, I wonder if it's one of those cases where a little bit of damage maybe made the car more stable.
Oh, Jamie Hall with a big problem. Jamie Hall got out of sorts coming into Druids, and that's going to allow Philip Lake to get through. They were almost side by side through Water Tower, and another mistake.
Oh, he's pulling off. He's done.
I think he ran out of incident points, actually.
The way that happened that quick, I actually think he just kind of got frustrated and called it a day.
He disappeared almost immediately. The car didn't even come to a halt, at least from what I could tell. Regardless, that's a shame. There was only 2 minutes left.
The Alt F4 button does magical things when you're frustrated.
All right, Etilepisto. Is this one to go? Oh, this is tight. This could be one. This could be two to go. Oh, boy. So Etilepisto, he does have a 16-17 second lead. So really it comes down to if he has enough fuel, which I would hope he put enough in for this. Not really a battle anymore up the top of the GTOs either. Lake and Neidhart sort of close, but I'll keep an eye on if that gets any closer. Of course, we'll duck over to there. But for now, we got to watch and see if Lepisto is going to get the checkers or the white flag next time by. Past Rob Olenek. Haven't even had time to recount Olenek's climb, by the way. Up to the top 5 for the number 4. Looks like we did get confirmation that looks like Hall was not happy with the car and how it was driving, so decided he didn't even want to try and take it to the finish. There's some love for Rob Olenek now. What's Lepisto got left here? 5, 4, 3. Up and over. White flag. All right. Yeah, it looks like he tried to slow down as well. He wanted that checkered flag, but it's not meant to be. So he's got to go around one more time. You know, Jacob Rattray is being chased by Franco Scurry there for 6th place. That's a pretty close battle there in the GTOs scurry despite an issue or two throughout this race, still looking at taking the top spot of the Italian drivers, so that Milk Zoo Championship will still see him extend that lead unless he has some big problems. Yoni Hagner now taking the white flag. He's pulled that gap up to 6 seconds over Neidhart.
Laust Olsen is off. That's going to allow Sintez Galindo to move up to 7th. Yeah, we were talking right before we had that incident a minute ago that, no offense to Sintez Galindo, he had one of the...
We got to go to our leader because he's taking the checkered flag now. Sorry to interrupt, but Antti Lepisto this time takes the win here at Oulton Park. Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying he probably had one of the worst first laps I've seen in a while and still manages to do that. By the way, Jordacha, Juan Ignacio just blew his engine. He's not going to be able to finish this race.
Oh, right at the very end. Here's our third place driver. A fourth place driver. Ian Maki got by Gerber. He must be struggling. He doesn't even get a podium. Ian Maki slips into third at the last moment. So we head over to Yoni Hagner now. And it looks like Phil Lake has already finished. I see Phil Lake with time in the pit lane for some reason. Yeah, he's already finished this race, so he must have been just behind the leader. That'll solidify third for him. Neidhart going to get a well-earned second, while Yoni Hagner wins here today in the GTO class at Oulton Park. Everybody can finally breathe a little bit as we watch Neidhart take second, and we go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Come back soon because we are going to go over the official results as well as driver interviews. And stick around if you want to see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. were hoping for a nice calm walk on the park here at Oulton Park Circuit, you weren't going to get it today. It was excitement nonstop with the Kamel GT series, and Antti Lepisto is the one that led it home from fourth on the grid, managing to stay out of trouble where others could not. Dustin Hiroter with a well-earned second as well, and Arto Iamaki finding himself losing a little bit of his points lead, but still managing to limit the damage with a third place. Fabian Gerber, a lot of damage on that car, despite being on the pole. Found himself in trouble multiple times. Not sure that we really blame Fabian for all of it, but he wound up in fourth when all was said and done. Pablo Suarez finished in fifth with Martin Krejcik in P6. And you've got Heitor Sintez Guindo. I don't think we were expecting to heap praise on Sintez Guindo come the start of this race, but by the end, he got his way back forward, cleaned up his act, and got seventh place. Well done. Laust Olsen with a P8 behind him, and Kitty Ingstrom, unfortunately, with a pit stop that wasn't intended, sending him back to ninth. Stefan Schlacker, the first driver a lap down, gets a top 10, and John Keefe in 11th. Roberto De Filippi in P12, and then Guillermo Kramer was 13th.
Well, Joni Hagner coming home with the win in the Audis today. Dennis Neidhart coming home in second. Philip Blake with another podium. He's just doing his best to try to win that championship and maybe try to do it without even winning a race. We'll have to see how the rest of the season plays out. Nico Arbolami coming in behind him in fourth in class, fifth in class, and top five is going to go to Rob Olenek after starting 35th overall in this race. He's going to gain 17 positions. Jacob Rattay coming home right behind him in sixth. Seventh place could go to Franco Scurry. Eighth place in class, Esco Litamini. Alexandro Nassaro behind him. Juan Ignacio Hurtacha coming home there, 23rd overall. Johnny Bell, Ryan O'Toole, Gareth Robichaud, Jamie Hall, Michael Haynes, and Reed Miller. They'll round out the core part of that Audi field, and that's the last, I believe, of the finishers there.
Everybody from there on down was a DNF, sadly. We're still waiting for some of our winners to come in. I don't know if they're celebrating or just trying to lay down and catch a breath, but we do have Stefan Schlacker here to talk to us about getting to that top 10. Steph, we saw a few of your woes out there, but talk to us about it from your perspective about what caused some of the damage you experienced.
Well, yeah, I don't know what was up with the traffic and me today. I've had to go a couple of times on the grass to avoid some big wrecks. Luckily that I was able to avoid pretty much all of them except for one that was pretty much my own cause there on the inside of you only hit the curb. And then I have to once again say sorry to Franco because instead of hitting the brake, I hit the throttle and accelerated right into him. Apparently didn't have no damage from me, but yeah, I also had some damage on the rear wing, so wasn't the best showing there. But apart from that, I'm actually happy with the 10th place. Can't really complain with not having any practice going up to this race.
Yeah, and I guess sometimes just seeing the checkered flag will help you get some spots around here. I was saying during the broadcast, I'm kind of amazed that the community brought this track back. Is this sort of a masochist sort of thing that the drivers in Kamel love a little bit of chaos out there, or what is the reasoning for bringing this one on? Because it's so narrow, it's so crazy out there every time we come here that I can't believe that everybody elects to put this one back on.
Yeah, see, Joe, that is exactly, you hit the nail on the head there. The Kamel GT is a little bit of a masochist community, and the Kamel GT actually loves this track, and a lot of people are saying throughout the times, every time we go here, that we need to bring Oulton Park more often into the schedule because it is so chaotic, because it is so fun to race, and that is the point. It's fun to race. That's all that Kamel GT is about. It's the fun of racing with each other.
Well, it looks like you had at least a little bit of fun out there today. We got one of our leaders in, so we're going to let you go here, Steph. Best of luck next week when we come back for Bathurst.
Oh, that will be fun. I hope I'll be there.
All right, I hope so as well. Now we've got Phil Lake with us, third place finisher in the GTO class. Adam's going to talk to him.
Yeah, hey, Phil, overall today, I mean, with the craziness that was out there, there was a little while there we were wondering if maybe you'd be able to get on the podium, but you snuck your way on it today, and it seems like your streak is going to continue. Do you think you can win this championship without winning a race?
Um, I don't want to win it without winning a race. I'd like to win a race at some point this season, but it could happen. It definitely could. It was tough out there today.
Yeah, and well, let's talk about that. I know you, running that Audi, being kind of the slower class. What did you think of just having to navigate competition in your own class and those GTPs?
The traffic wasn't too bad. I had a couple of pretty scary moments, but overall, from my point of view, traffic was okay. It's just overtaking your own class is impossible. It's really, really tough. You need them to make a mistake, and you need to be close enough to capitalize when they do. And I just felt so much faster today, but I was just stuck where I was.
Well, ultimately, it did result in that another podium for you. And now we go to Bathurst, which I know is a track that you've raced on many times before. But with the crowd you've got here for this year, what are you looking at for next week?
Just another solid result. So it's a very similar kind of mindset going into Bathurst as Oulton Park. You just want to, if you lose 2 seconds in traffic one lap, then that's fine. You just take that, and it will happen to everybody else at some point. So you'll get that time back, and you just have to be ready to miss an apex at the last moment and keep an eye on your mirrors.
All right. Well, hey, Phil, good job here today. Anybody you'd like to thank before we send you out?
Just thank you guys.
All right. Well, we appreciate you too, man. And you have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you there.
Looks like Phil's the only one who had any time to try and come and talk to us after licking his wounds from that race. So we're going to close it up with no more interviews to go. We're going to thank, of course, Kamel GT community for coming back for another season of coverage here on GSRC. And also a big thank you to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And also thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. And if you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store. It's gsrc.storenvy.com. But if you don't want to try and remember that, we've got a link in the description below. As we mentioned, next week, we're coming back with Bathurst. That'll be Saturday, February 1st at noon Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Enjoy your Daytona 24 if you're going to watch that today. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.